Look at this bald general who is set to marry his fourth concubine. This looks very interesting. But no one thought that the 5 items the general brought home turned the family into a big disaster. According to legend, there were many secret cults in ancient China, especially at the end of the Qing dynasty and the beginning of the Republic of China. All ordinary people were struggling to make a living. They could only pin their hopes on ghosts and even evil spirits. There is a branch in the White Lotus sect called the 5 Ghosts. Believers believe in 5 evil spirits who never die. These 5 evil spirits are always choosing pregnant women to be their mothers, turning the mothers and babies into devils. They will harm people and animals, sucking their brain juice and blood to grow up. If these 5 devil babies come to the world, it's an absolute disaster. Fortunately, the local government invited the exorcist Longzi to subdue these 5 evil spirits in 5 ancient bottles and build golden Buddha statues to suppress them. So far, these evil items have been buried in the ground. However, the good times don't last long, and the evil spirits will eventually set off a huge wave. Just a few decades later, an army of warlords dug up the tomb. The warlord General Su took away the Buddha statue that suppressed the evil spirits, and he took away all the gold and silver treasures in the tomb. So, the bottle in which the evil spirits were imprisoned was also opened due to the unearthing of the golden Buddha statue. Fortunately, the general threw the golden Buddha and the bottle into the same wooden box at the critical moment. So the evil spirits have to wait for a more suitable time. A few days later, the gongs and drums at the entrance of the general's mansion are very lively. It turned out that the general was planning to wed the beautiful girl in the sedan chair. The bald General Su is a very lustful man. The thing he most loves to do in his life is to find a woman and marry her, and I have to say it's better than just finding a woman. Today he is going to marry his 4th concubine, Pearl. Waiting for the knight to enter the bridal chamber ceremony, the drunk General Su staggered into the room. As a result, he didn't notice his new wife on the bed. Instead, he fell in love with the maid girl named Fish. But when General Su wanted to do something, the old housekeeper quickly stepped forward to interrupt General Su's movements. Because today is the wedding day, and the protagonist is not Fish. This allowed Fish to escape. Ever since the general got married, he has been the groom every night, staying in Pearl's room for 7 consecutive days. This made the concubine in the other rooms suddenly dissatisfied. But it is impossible to oppose General Su. Therefore, to satisfy their physical needs, they had to exert their talents. The 3rd concubine is an exception. She fell in love with the butler. These days, General Su is addicted to the beauty of Pearl and can't extricate himself, giving her the perfect time to have an affair with the butler. On the side of the general's 2nd concubine, she is cursing Pearl. At this time, Mr. Six, the servant from the kitchen, came to the room to deliver soup. As a result, to satisfy her lust, she even seduced Mr. Six. After all, Mr. Six is young and handsome, he is a heartthrob. But Mr. Six has his bottom line in his heart, what he likes is fish. Therefore, naturally, he will not succumb to the lewd power. 2nd concubine saw Mr. Six dared to go against her, so she punished him directly in the room to kneel until dawn. In the evening, Fish, who was distressed for Mr. Six, brought him supper. Fish opened the supper box, which had the lid blocking the golden Buddha on the table. The evil spirits in the 5 bottles started to wake up immediately, and they all wanted to escape from the bottles. The room started shaking. It's as terrifying as a demon descending into the world. Fortunately, the evil spirit shook the lid to the ground. Therefore, the golden Buddha once again showed its divine power and suppressed the entire room. This turmoil temporarily calmed down for a moment amid the trembling between Mr. Six and Fish. But it's just a wave of unrest. On the 3rd concubine's side, a maid accidentally saw the adultery between her and the butler. To avoid the maid telling General Su, the butler hurried out and cruelly killed the maid. A few days later, Mr. Six and Fish went fishing by the riverside. Then the buoy in the water suddenly moved. As a result, what Mr. Six fished out turned out to be the corpse of the maid. Mr. Six and Fish were scared so much. When Mr. Six moved the body back to the mansion, facing General Su's questioning, the butler hurriedly stepped forward and blamed the maid himself, saying that she must have stumbled into the river with carelessness. The general was too lazy to ask too much about the doubts and details. He just asked the butler to bury her and find a Taoist priest to deal with the matter. Funeral days came. Because the butler was greedy for money, he only found 1 Taoist priest and requested Mr. Six and another male servant who named Bin, a total of 3 people, to go bury the dead maid. On the way to the tomb, an exorcist named Chin on the big tree finds the maid has a chest full of hate. He confirmed she must have died of a great injustice. Chin asked the 3 not to let the maid's body get wet and to bury her as soon as possible. However, Mr. Six and the Taoist priest did not follow Chin's instructions. They based on the normal process to burn paper money for the maid at first. While raising the altar to appease souls from anger, it's a pity that the burial of the Taoist priest seems to be very professional. He is just a fake Taoist who cheats money. So he did not listen to Qin's exhortation. He sprayed a bowl of water onto the maid's body to try to purify the soul, but this movement immediately caused the corpse of the maid to change. The maid turned into a Chinese zombie and kept chasing them. The three were so frightened that they hurriedly fled in all kinds of embarrassment. Fortunately, Qin rushed to the scene at a critical moment. He knocked down and held the maid, then put a piece of black tofu into the maid's mouth to suppress her. With Qin's constant chanting, he finally released the maid's soul from purgatory. Qin told them the method of superseding the corpse and identifying the cause of death of the corpse. This made Mr. Six admire him very much. So he asked Qin how to escape from the devil? Qin sent a copy of the Great Santathagata Sutra to Mr. Six, saying the book may bring help. After Mr. Six returned to General Su's mansion, he never thought the danger would come so quickly. That night, the butler came to the golden Buddha statue's room and switched it with a bronze one. Because of the lack of repression by the golden Buddha, the 5 evil spirits in the bottle directly broke the seal and ran out. They did not cause trouble immediately but possessed General Su's body. So in the evening, General Su lit the lights of his 4 wives. That means he's going to make love with all of them on the same night. Here we have to admire General Su, he is really energetic. After General Su completed the job with his first 3 concubines, Pearl suddenly felt fear. Because she found that General Su's face was very abnormal, she was not wrong but have no way to escape. So General Su, possessed by evil spirits, keeps rushing back and forth between his wives' rooms. After a series of romances, General Su successfully made 4 concubines pregnant. It turned out that 4 of the 5 evil spirits took turns possessing General Su that day. And through sexing, the evil spirits are parasitized in these women's body. As long as them gives birth to the baby normally, they will turn into devil babies and harm the whole world. The remaining one is attached to Mr. Six. So this time, the 5 devil babies have all been parasitized. Within a few days, the devil baby in the eldest wife's body first began to come into the world. The scene terrified everyone. General Su immediately asked his servants to seal the doors and windows and send a master to practice exorcism. But the master was no match at all. The eldest concubine took out the master in just 1 round. Upon seeing this, Ben hurried to funeral home to ask Qin for help. For the meantime, the general's mansion has completely turned into chaos. Because the birth of the devil baby needs to swallow a lot of flesh and blood, the servants threw the livestock in the house into the room for the eldest concubine to enjoy. The general is at the door with a gun and doesn't allow anyone to leave. He still wants to save his women and baby's life. He really doesn't know what's the situation and how dangerous it is right now. And just then, his other 3 concubines also completed the demonization. They all went out of the room and started eating people. A bloody storm suddenly unfolded in the mansion. After the butler sold the golden Buddha and hurried back home, he didn't know what had happened. As a result, he met 3rd concubine who had been demonized. This greedy man is finally dead. Mr. Six is avoiding the pursuit of the concubines. He hid in the room with the surviving General Su. At this dangerous moment, Mr. Six found that the Great Santathagata Sutra is really effective in expelling evil spirits. So he and the general immediately covered the paper all over the doors and windows of the room. However, the 2 of them back-to-back did not breathe a sigh of relief. The concubines just slammed the door down with brute force. During the chaos, the 2 quickly fled to the courtyard, but finally the concubines caught up with the 2. General Su, for his own life, pushed Mr. Six out. Mr. Six is about to be brutally murdered. He suddenly remembered Qin's words. Master Qin told him, when you encounter a devil, just close your eyes. Then you can avoid disasters by reciting Namo Amitabha Buddha in your mouth. Mr. Six let the concubines pass by after doing so, but the general was miserable. His concubines finally killed him on the spot. Actually, he can survive if he ran away immediately. The concubines are going to turn around and deal with Mr. Six. Fortunately, Master Qin arrived in time. He easily killed 2 wives with 1 move. It turns out that these evil spirits have an old feud with Qin's master. It was his master who sealed the 5 evil spirits back then. Now the new hatred and the old hatred are counted together. The 2 sides immediately start a fight. However, Qin is indeed very powerful. He killed 1 devil concubines easily, but the remaining 2 quickly ran away. When Qin saw this, he determined that he would never let them go. If they give birth to the devil baby in 2 hours, at that time, he was afraid that the reincarnation of the ancestors of Qin would not be able to conquer them. Then Qin took Mr. Six and been back to the mansion to find them. After finding the lair of one of the concubines, Qin urged the spirit sword in his hand to kill her. Mr. Six and Ben found Pearl. However, they are weakness and failed to prevent the birth of the devil baby in time. Fortunately, Master Qin arrived quickly. He killed the newly born devil baby with one sword, so all 4 devil babies were killed. But the shadows are still shrouded in everyone's hearts, because there are 5 evil spirits in total. Sure enough, when everyone came to Fish's room, terrible things finally happened. Fish finally succeeded in giving birth to the devil baby. Chin and Fish took turns fighting each other. In a fierce confrontation between the two, Chin successfully injured the devil. However, Fish hurt Chin much more fiercely. She even directly divided Chin into 2 sections. Before dying, Chin told Mr. Six that there was something related to the Golden Buddha in Funeral Home's coffin. Then Mr. Six and Ben hurried to Funeral Home to look for life-saving items. They managed to find a piece of fur with a Golden Buddha painted on it. As long as they find the Golden Buddha, he can surely suppress the reincarnation of the devil, but the Golden Buddha was sold to the pawn shop by the butler. If they want to get it back, someone needs to go to the pawn shop to redeem the Golden Buddha. So Ben immediately went to the pawn shop. At the same time, Mr. Six in Funeral Home suddenly found 4 poems written on the fur. The meaning of these poems is that if you want to suppress the 5 devils, you must have spells, you must use fire to refine them. Mr. Six finally found the drawing method of the spells on the coffin board. He directly went to the pawn shop to find Ben. However, tragedy has already happened. Fish completely killed Ben. And Fish, holding the Golden Buddha with one hand, doesn't seem to be affected in any way. She threw the Golden Buddha into the fire. She wants to melt it completely to prevent it from being repressed again. Fish still has some intellect, so she doesn't want to kill Mr. Six. She even wants Mr. Six to live with her and take care of their devil baby. More and more golden water flowed out of the Golden Buddha over time. The grieving Mr. Six looked at the frantic expression of Fish. He suddenly remembered the previous poem and the spell. He had no way but immediately picked up a large pen, dipped the pen tip with gold water, and drew a spell on the ground. The spell came out with the verse. When Fish got close, it was too late. Mr. Six had already drawn the giant spell board out. He carried the spell board and forcibly suppressed Fish against the wall. No matter how hard Fish pleads, Mr. Six still keeps pushing. Mr. Six is very painful, but he knows what he needs to do. The spell board started to burn. Endless flames swallowed Fish and her child in a golden light. This crisis of 5 evil spirits is finally resolved successfully. The movie is still shaking me till, and I have to say Fish is really beautiful and innocent.